While searching for footage of kangaroos boxing, as one does, I came across this clip of Woody Allen fighting one way back in 1966.
Generally known to the public that I'm a guy who can handle his fists pretty good. Tonight on Hippodrome, you're gonna watch me fight the Australian light heavyweight champion.
Now follow me on the magical journey I took to figure out how this clip came into existence. We start in the 1960s. Ooh, the 1960s. Ooh. Back in 1966, a 31-year-old Allen had successfully transitioned from comedy writer to stand-up comedian.
I'll tell you how I met my second wife, which is really fascinating. I had read that in Life magazine that there was a sexual revolution going on college campuses all over the country, and I re-registered at New York University
But the hungry comic and his manager, Jack Rollins, were always looking for ways to get attention and cement the name Woody Allen in the minds of viewers.
This was part of Jack Rollins' game plan because Jack's theory was saturate the country with me as much as he could so I would be a household name.
So whether it was clashes with kangaroos or duets with dogs, it was all just something he had to do as he made the jump from television to film.
Hello. He sang in rehearsal.
Something that shifted the kangaroo clip from ridiculous stunt to sublime marketing for me is the fact that it was broadcast as part of a short-lived British show called Hippodrome, which was filmed by the UK's ITV in partnership with the US network CBS, giving Allen access to audiences on both sides of the Atlantic. A fun fact about the show is that because of the UK-US partnership, it had to be filmed in both color and monochrome, aka black and white, because the US had introduced color television back in 1954, while the UK was about 1 year away from its first scheduled color television broadcast, which happened on July 1st, 1967, and was, naturally, Wimbledon. Coincidentally, the men's final was won by an Australian, John Newcombe. While we're talking about old times in black and white, as weird as it may seem now, kangaroo boxing, that is a man in a ring with a kangaroo, was a relatively common and popular sideshow at circuses and carnivals across Australia and Europe, starting in the late 19th century and continuing well into the 20th. Apparently it was particularly popular in Germany because a clip of a kangaroo boxing a man was included in the first ever film projection in that country in 1895. Things started to change in the 1970s when environmentalism and animal rights activism, as we understand them today, really started to kick off. And as a result, the popularity of animal acts like kangaroo boxing began to wane. In 1992, the kangaroo became a protected species in Australia, and punching or otherwise harming one can have legal ramifications, unless you have a license. And despite the ban on man-on-kangaroo combat, the boxing kangaroo remains firmly part of Aussie heritage and culture. Now back to that fight between Woody Allen and that kangaroo. The funniest moments come from Allen's physical comedy, which is on full display, earning him gales of laughter from the apparently delighted audience with his nervous footwork and limp-wristed punches. But overall, to me at least, the whole thing is more weird and awkward than hilarious, as it's pretty clear that the kangaroo is at best confused and at worst unhappy to be involved in the spectacle at all. Honestly, it's not much of a fight. It's kind of boring. Allen and the disoriented marsupial seem okay with, just dancing around each other, but the other man in the ring, who is the kangaroo's wrangler, keeps pushing the two together. This forces a few moments of contact, including a brief bit of grappling when the kangaroo finally manages to get its arms around the comedian, but Allen quickly slips through the hold to safety. The most entertaining bit comes right at the end when the wrangler takes a well-deserved and full-powered kangaroo kick to the guts that knocks him to the ground and sends Allen scurrying out of striking distance. This is a wise move on the comedian's part given the fact that kangaroos are pure muscle. I mean, just look at this guy. And aside from the power of their kicks, kangaroos sport enormous velociraptor-esque claws on the big toe of each foot. These claws can cause severe injuries and have been known to disembowel other kangaroos as well as dogs. Those claws are what prompted this amazing video from 2016 when an Australian elephant keeper, Greg Tompkins, rescued his dog by ringing this kangaroo's bell. Despite that heritage of kangaroo boxing, there was some outcry and calls for him to be fired, but his actions were deemed justified and happily he seems to have kept his job. Though they do pose some danger, fortunately for Australians, kangaroos mostly keep to themselves and won't attack humans unless provoked. And when they do, it's very rarely fatal. In fact, many more people have died because they've hit a kangaroo while driving than because the kangaroo hit them in a fight. All that being said, if the news is anything to go by, 2022 has been a rough year for kangaroo attacks. Australia even suffered its first fatal kangaroo attack in 86 years. In September, a pet kangaroo turned on its owner and kicked the 77-year-old to death. Apparently, the kangaroo in question was so aggressive that it prevented emergency workers from reaching the seriously injured man and had to be shot by police. No word on what injuries the alpaca farmer suffered, but the previous person to die from a kangaroo attack, way back in 1936, suffered severe head trauma while trying to rescue his dogs. And I'll end on that gruesome note. Just one question for you today. Do you think you can take on a kangaroo in hand-to-hand combat? Let me know in the comments below, but before you answer, watch this video of a different non-fatal kangaroo attack from May 2022. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe, and maybe take a look at some of my other content. Come on!